250 Australian personnel bound for Afghanistan have been tasked with bringing out any remaining Australian citizens, as well as providing health and logistics capabilities. The government has just confirmed it's trying to rescue 600 people, 100 citizens and permanent residents and their families, as well as locally engaged staff. But it's not clear how many of those Afghans can be saved, and there are fears many will be left behind once overseas forces again leave the country. Nasiba Akram is the Community Relations Lead of Project Humanity at Host International and joins me now from Sydney. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Firstly, what do you make of this news that's just come through that the Australian government's operation will seek to rescue 600 people, 100 citizens, permanent residents and their families, as well as locally engaged staff?
I think it's a joke. We have got staff on the ground that are connected to Australia. We have got families that have their immediate families in Australia, in Afghanistan. And beside that, we have 825 asylum seekers that are present in this country, and their tomorrow is not known. They are living on bridging visas, some without work rights, some without Medicare. We need an announcement, a generous announcement by this government, like the Canadian government has announced that they will do an intake of 20,000 on humanitarian basis. And that is what I would like to ask the Prime Minister and the Cabinet to consider in assist us in this line.
And you use the term generous there. What would it say to those people fleeing from Afghanistan, fearful of their future because of the Taliban, if the government were to consider this right now?
I think it is the responsibility of the Australian government that they would think of a humanitarian strategy to move forward with this. So an intake of a couple of hundred does not mean much. Those would be the people that help them on the ground. But I am talking about citizens of Australia who are worried about their families under the current regime.
And we're seeing those pictures that have gone around the world right now of the Taliban in Kabul just a moment ago in the presidential palace. Nasiba Akram, how do you feel about this rapidly, very quickly changing situation in Afghanistan?
The community as a whole cannot believe it. I cannot believe, or I couldn't have predicted such a thing. It is so rapid. And it's so gloomy and it's so dark that we do not know what's waiting for us tomorrow.
The US President Joe Biden said that now was the time because, in his view, there was not going to be a point at which the military and the government were able to stand on their own 2 feet more so than now. What do you make of this strategy or the position of the coalition nations leaving at this point?
I don't think the coalition would know for what has gone through. I do not know anything on the ground at the moment, at the present moment, but I think that strategy was a failure.
What do you expect to happen in Afghanistan now?
I wish I could have predicted something. I wish I was able to see a tomorrow with the sunrise that the civilians would have lived comfortably. But none of us can predict that at this time. It is so unpredictable, it is so dark, and it's so uncertain.
And it's that uncertainty that we keep hearing is the situation for everyone in Afghanistan, but particularly for women and girls. What's your concern there?
From what we have learned from the history, I hope it would not repeat itself, and the current regime would look at what happened in the history, but still, no one knows. No one knows what is going to happen tomorrow.
And the Taliban say that they're going to treat women better than they did when they were last in control. Do you have any confidence in what they're saying publicly?
Anyone could claim or say something, but I hope they will. I truly hope that they will. But what the history has taught us, it's unrepeatable. And it should not come back to us.
Nasiba Akram, you're qualified as a journalist. You've had a long career reporting. It seems to me that reporters are among the first to be tracked down overnight. Have you got a sense of that? Are you hearing similar stories?
Reporters have been punished severely for the past couple of months. If you look at the past couple of months of the reporter's life, many has been killed. Many has been severely punished. Many has left the country already. I don't think that they will survive this stage. But as I told you at the beginning, it's a very gloomy day. It's a very uncertain day.
Mm. And you use that term responsibility. Yesterday, the former chief of the Australian Army, retired Lieutenant General Peter Lay, told me that Australia has an absolute responsibility to get those Afghans who helped Australia out of the country. But clearly, you want much more than that. You're talking about, as you mentioned, a similar program to Canada's 20,000 refugee spots. Is that enough?
At least. That figure, getting the people that has directly worked with the Australian government or the Australian Army is one thing. But we have people that has worked with us on humanitarian grounds. We have companies, registered NGOs in Australia that are working on the ground in Afghanistan with us. What is going to happen to them? And there are many more stories. There's links of those Australian citizens, Afghan Australian citizens, that will be followed.
From Project Humanity at Host International, Nasiba Akram, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon.
Thank you.